Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to meet one of the most legendary figures of the American frontier, James Butler, better known as Wild Bill Hickok. In 1837, James Butler Hickok was born in a small farm community in western Illinois. Given the fact that he was the eighth child of a family with 10 children, it isn't surprising that from an early age he showed a rebellious streak, displaying little interest in farm work and instead spending most of his time dreaming about and preparing for an adventurous life on the frontier. The open plains and the thrill of the unknown. As a young man, he left home and began working as a stagecoach driver, a dangerous job that took him across hostile territory. There, he developed his skills as a marksman and a fearless defender of passengers against bandits and raiding parties. His reputation began to grow. When the Civil War broke out, Hickok joined the Union Army, serving as a scout and spy behind enemy lines. Earned a name for his accuracy with a gun, his ability to disappear into the wilderness and reappear just as silently, and his willingness to take on dangerous missions that other soldiers refused. By the end of the war, he was a major, having risen through the ranks due to his bravery and effectiveness. During the Civil War, stories of Hickok's exploits started appearing in newspapers. At that time, there was a surge in popularity for dime novels. Cheap sensationalist stories about the adventures of cowboys and lawmen that were written by authors who often exaggerated or completely fabricated tales of frontier life. These dime novelists portrayed Hickok as a larger-than-life hero of the West, a man who could shoot a six-shooter faster than anyone, who could ride a horse like a mythical cowboy, and who always managed to win in the end. Although these stories weren't always accurate, they helped transform him into a national celebrity, making him famous across the United States. After the Civil War, Hickok traveled around the country visiting the towns where his fictional exploits were most popular. Wherever he went, crowds gathered to hear his talks about his adventures on the frontier. He was especially famous as a lawman in towns like Abilene, Kansas, where he kept order and meted out rough frontier justice to criminals and rowdies. With his long hair, sharp eyes, and ever-present pair of Colt revolvers worn on his hips, he cut an unforgettable figure. It is important to note that unlike many of the so-called gunfighters of the day, who made their reputations by winning shootouts based on speed, Hickok didn't rely on such trickery. When a threat appeared, he remained calm. He was known to stand his ground, draw and fire with steady precision, then stand there until the threat was dead. And this made him both respected and feared. One of his most famous encounters happened in 1865 in Springfield, Missouri, in what many historians consider the first documented quick-draw shootout. He faced off against Davis Tutt, a gambler who had once been his friend. The two men argued over a debt and a gold watch. On the town square, they met at a distance, drew their pistols and fired. Tutt missed. Hickok didn't. The shot that killed Tutt cemented Hickok's reputation as one of the deadliest men in the West. But Hickok's life wasn't all gunfights and law enforcement. He was also a gambler, a profession that suited his restless nature, but often left him broke. In the 1870s, his eyesight began to fail, which made both shooting and gambling more difficult. Despite this, he continued to travel through the frontier towns, living off his fame and his skills at the card table. In 1876, Hickok arrived in Deadwood, a gold rush town in the Black Hills of Dakota Territory. Deadwood was wild, lawless, and filled with miners, gamblers, and outlaws. It was here that Hickok's story came to a tragic end. On August 2nd, while playing poker at Nuttall and Mann's Saloon, he sat with his back to the door, a mistake he usually avoided. Jack McCall, a disgruntled drifter who claimed Hickok had humiliated him in a previous card game, walked in, drew his pistol, and shot Hickok in the back of the head. Hickok died instantly, and the cards in his hand, 2 black aces and 2 black eights, became forever known as the dead man's hand. Hickok's death shocked the West. It wasn't just the manner in which he was killed, but also what he represented. He embodied the myth of the frontier hero, brave, reckless, and larger than life. After his death, Wild Bill Hickok became even more famous. Stories of his gunfights and adventures continued to grow, blending fact and fiction until it was hard to tell them apart. He was portrayed as a fearless gunman, a skilled scout, and a gambler whose life captured the spirit of the untamed frontier. Today, his name is still remembered as one of the iconic figures of the Old West, Wild Bill Hickok lived a short but unforgettable life. His story is filled with danger, drama, and tragedy. In many ways, he represented the dual nature of the Wild West itself, a place of opportunity and excitement, but also of violence and uncertainty. His legend lives on in books, films, and folklore, a reminder of a time when law and chaos walked side by side, and when a man's reputation could make him immortal. Thank you for watching.